And welcome to the Terry Lynn Lokoff Children's Tylenol National Child Care Teacher Awards, a celebration of excellence in early care and education. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a rousing welcome to the Terry Lynn Lokoff Children's Tylenol National Child Care Teacher Award honorees of 2017. Thank you, Corey Nunn and Brandon Hess, for getting our evening off to the right start. Okay. Terry Lynn Lokoff was a devoted child care teacher who was killed in a tragic automobile accident in 1986. She was 25 years old. Terry knew she made a real, long-lasting difference in the lives of the children in her care. Tonight, we honor Terry's memory by honoring 50 outstanding child care professionals from across the US, Italy, and Japan, who share what was Terry's passion, providing the great start that leads to success in school and in life for young children. I'm Pat Loeb of KYW News Radio. I'm privileged to be your host for the ceremony. Those here and those watching via the internet this evening may have the impression that the Terry Lynn Lokoff Child Care Foundation advocates for child care. And that is true. But it doesn't tell the whole story. The foundation advocates for available and affordable, high-quality child care. They do it because all young children, yes, that's They do it because all young children deserve an opportunity to succeed, and for that they need access to quality early care and education. The most important element of high-quality child care is the ability, education, training, dedication, and professionalism of child care teachers and providers. So congratulations to this evening's award recipients for excellence in all of those areas. Thank you for doing the work that you do and for doing it so well. You truly do make America better. We want to thank the people responsible for the National Child Care Teacher Awards, and to Committee Chair Marcy Bassine and the Teacher Award Committee and 35 volunteer readers Several of them are here tonight who read and scored all the applications so we could honor this year's recipients. We know it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a dedicated team of committee members and volunteers to make Teacher Awards a success. We're lucky to have a great team. Thank you to Leslie Esslinger, Head of Product Development for Becker's School Supply, and Suzanne Morris, Deputy Secretary of the Pennsylvania Office of Child Development and Early Learning, who provided useful and informative presentations to our teachers at today's breakfast. Joining us this evening are several very important people representing our title sponsor, including Julianne Chetrick, James Blair, Jen Cullen, Manoj Raghunandan, Scott Gosling, and Danica Brenton. We thank you for joining us tonight, along with Erin Slavka, brand manager of the Children's Motrin and Children's Tylenol brands at Johnson & Johnson, who's participating in our program and from whom you'll hear in a few minutes. McNeil's support during 17 years of sponsorship through the Children's Tylenol brand, the Children's Zyrtec brand, and their presence here this evening shows their commitment to high-quality care, to child care teachers, and to great outcomes for children and families. Thank you to breakfast sponsor Bernie Robbins Fine Jewelers, and thank you for the signature rose stick pins and cufflinks that were presented to our winners this morning. To Paul Chihas of Lafayette Hill Studios for photographs this evening. To ETA Travel for arranging air transportation for our recipients and their guests. To Tag Strategies for their marketing know-how. To Outreach Partner, prize provider, and friend, Al Becker and Becker School Supplies, and Bright Horizons Foundations for Children. All of you are friends of the Terry Lynn Lokoff Child Care Foundation and of child care teachers everywhere. And this is normally where I would introduce you to State Representative James Roebuck, who has attended every award ceremony for more than a decade. He is a true friend to children and to their teachers. As the Democratic chair of the House Education Committee, he's been instrumental in getting funding for pre-K counts and other programs promoting the health and welfare of children from low-income families in Pennsylvania. He was scheduled to join us this evening, but had an unexpected change in his schedule. He sent his regards in this letter, which I'm going to read. I very much regret, he says, that I am unable to be with you this evening. I would like to congratulate the 2017 Terry Lynn Lokoff Child Care Foundation recipients on your stellar work as educators. Thank you for your commitment to early childhood education. We are deeply in your debt for all the hard work you do. And we look forward to having Representative Roebuck back next year. It's a great pleasure now to introduce Erin Slavka, brand manager of the Children's Motrin and Children's Tylenol brands at Johnson & Johnson. During Erin's 13-year career at the company, she's held numerous roles of increasing responsibility across several facets of the business, including supply chain and marketing. But she says her favorite roles to date have been those on pediatric brands such as Children's Tylenol, as she has an incredible passion for children and is involved in several philanthropic events that support children in need. She lives in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, with her husband and their 2-year-old daughter. Please join me in welcoming from McNeil Consumer Health, Miss Erin Slavka.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. First and foremost, congratulations to each and every one of the award recipients. You guys have done so much, and hope you're enjoying your weekend here. With all that being said, I'd like to start a little differently tonight. I'd like to start with a confession. My good friend and coworker, Carol Waldeck, was here in my shoes last year on behalf of Children's Tylenol. And naturally, I offered an ear to her as she was preparing and rehearsing for this speech. But as she did so, I naturally learned more about the Terry Lynn Lokoff Foundation and its partnership with Children's Tylenol for the last 17 years. And to be honest, I was like, man, I hope I'm in her shoes someday. And I say that because I'm hoping I would also have an opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation for all that you do, and for all of the men and women in a profession that I have so much respect and admiration for. Well, fast forward 1 year with some hard work and just a little bit of luck, Caroline has been promoted and I am now in her role And so really, my hope tonight is that I can do my best to impart upon you the value that each and every one of you bring to the classroom every day. So as it was mentioned by Pat, I have a 2-year-old daughter named Gracie. I'm beyond fortunate, so blessed to have an incredible child care facility right on my workplace, on-site at my workplace in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. When I went back to work 2 years ago, literally to this day, I went through one of the most stressful and difficult times of my entire life. My daughter was born with extremely severe torticollis, which caused her gross motor skills to be delayed and necessitated physical therapy 3 to 4 times a week. In addition to the physical therapy, Gracie's infants teachers, Shannon and Ashley, worked with her each and every day to stretch her, to push her, and to help her catch up with her classmates. As long as I live, I will never forget when her primary teacher, Shannon, called me at work to proudly announce that Gracie had pulled up for the very first time. And it sounds so simple, but when it's your child and when it's your teacher calling, it's something I will never forget for my entire life. The joy that was in her voice was so palpable that at that moment it became apparent to me and my husband that her teachers, Shannon and Ashley, had become part of our village, as they say. We will forever be grateful for the love, compassion, and patience that her infants teachers had when we needed them the most. Thankfully, Gracie's had made incredible progress, caught up with all of her milestones, and honestly, it's hard to imagine a time when she wasn't running around like a crazy little toddler. Seriously, everywhere. She doesn't stop running. So I share with you my personal story as just one small example of the amazing, inspiring things that early education teachers like yourself do on a daily basis. When you're having just one of those days with infants that just won't nap, or you've sung 5 Little Monkeys Jumping on a Bed more times than you can imagine, which we do it a lot in my house, so I can only imagine how many times she does it at school. Thank you. I hope that you're truly, honestly able to realize how much of an impact you have on the lives of your students and really their families. You become an integrated part of their families, and I think that's something that's a little underestimated. So I know that countless moms and dads across the country have stories similar to mine about a certain teacher that did something amazing for that child that will be forever remembered as a adult. And for that, I thank you. I know that it's one of the most challenging jobs out there, and I am personally committed to do everything in my power to advocate for the importance of quality early childhood education. I'm incredibly proud to represent Children's Tylenol tonight and hope that you enjoy your night and your weekend here in Philadelphia. You enjoy it, or you have earned it more than you even realize, truly. So thank you again, congratulations, and enjoy your time.
Thank you, Erin. A wonderful story. All of us know or feel like we know the man who invited us into the world of make-believe and into his neighborhood, Fred Rogers. Tonight, we meet the woman who helped make the television series Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Our keynote speaker, Hedda Sharapin, began working with Fred Rogers in family communications at the very beginning of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in 1966. She worked on the television series as assistant director and assistant producer, but as she'll tell you, she's a great story about her career in children's television going back much further than that. She now serves as director of early childhood initiatives at the Fred Rogers Company, continuing to carry on Fred's legacy. Her work includes script consultant for the company's PBS children's series Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, as well as writing articles, books, creating websites, and creating and presenting professional development materials for early childhood educators. Her monthly professional development newsletter reaches more than 15,000 subscribers. Please join me in welcoming Hedda Sharapin.
I am so honored to be here. This is my third trip to the TLCCF. Yes, and I am so touched by the Lokoff family. it's not just their generosity, it's the warmth. There is so much warmth and welcoming. I mean, you really do feel like they welcome you into their neighborhood. And you've made it such a beautiful day in the neighborhood for so many. To think that you've taken life's greatest tragedy and turned it into something that helps other people's children. The children who, your children of others who, in this field of professional development, and you also serve the children. To think that you've done this for so many other children in this world. We're deeply in debt. Now, let me ask you a question. I'm not quite sure when Pat mentioned Mr. Rogers. How many of you have seen Mr. Rogers? Oh, look at that. Well, let me tell you a story about a little boy who really did see Mr. Rogers. It was a time when Fred was out of town. He was doing some videotaping on location, and he was staying in a hotel. And as he walked through the lobby of the hotel, there was a 5-year-old boy sitting there in the lobby who could not believe his eyes that he was seeing Mr. Rogers. And he ran up to Fred and he shook his jacket and he said, "Mr. Rogers, how did you get out of the TV?" Well, you can imagine what Fred did. He bent down and he very carefully and he caringly explained how television works. And the boy nodded through that whole explanation. Then he said, "But Mr. Rogers, how are you going to get back in?" I love that story. I love that story because it says even the best of communicators under the best of circumstances can sometimes miss the mark. And maybe I should ask how many of you have heard of Daniel Tiger's neighborhood? Oh, interesting. And I heard a story a little while ago from a child care provider who said that there was a little boy who was having some difficulty saying goodbye to mommy at the morning time. And as he was sitting there crying by the door, 3 other children came over to him and they sang the Daniel song, "Grown-ups come back." So we're hearing from people who work in the field saying, where's this coming from? And we are hoping that this is helpful. Fred Rogers said television is the only appliance that's best used when it's off. And it's over and you use what you had. So I am really honored to be here. I thought maybe you'd like to know a little bit. Pat mentioned about how I got connected to Fred Rogers. This is actually my 51st year with Mr. Rogers, with Fred Rogers Company. Thank you. Thank you. But, you know, as I say, would you leave? Who would leave, right? I actually started in children's television long before that. I had my own children's television show when I was 11 years old. It was called The Happy Hedda Show, but it was just in front of the mirror. But I say to people, you never know where the seeds of children's play will lead them. I'll just sort of briefly tell you that I ended up with a degree in psychology from Carnegie Tech, then as Carnegie Mellon. And while I was waiting to hear from grad schools, I just wandered around Pittsburgh looking for the possibility of a job, Alcoa, IBM. Pittsburgh is my hometown, basically, my hometown area. And kind of on a lark, maybe thinking back to that Happy Hedda show, I went over to WQED, our public station, and I said maybe I could do something on television for children. And the man who interviewed me said, "There are no jobs here now, and you don't have a teaching degree, so you can't teach." You know, then it was educational television. It's 1965, before Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But he said, if you're really interested in this, why don't you talk to Fred Rogers and see, maybe he could give you some advice. At the time, Fred was working with children. Yes, child development is in Fred's background as well. He said to me, if this is really what you want, why don't you think about, he said think about a master's degree, but he didn't say in television production. He didn't say mass media or communication. He said, why don't you think about a master's degree in child development? Because the important question is, and it's the same question for you, the question isn't what can we give to children, what can we put out today for them? The question is, what are they bringing to us? Who are they? Let me understand who they are so that I can best meet their needs and help them grow. So I've been fortunate enough for all these years. I say to people, you never know where the seeds of children's play will lead them. I have another story. Anyone here from Charlotte, North Carolina? Anyone here heard Thomas Moore, Dr. Thomas Moore? Absolutely wonderful. Big man with a great musical talent. And he works with children. So he said when he goes to cocktail parties and people say to him, I'm a doctor, and someone says, yes, and I'm a lawyer, and someone says, and I'm an engineer. He said, I often thought, how do I respond to this? How do I say who I am and what I do? So he thought, and he came up with it, and here's what he does. He said, when someone says to me, I'm a doctor, I say, I raise doctors. And when someone says, I'm an engineer, I say, I inspire engineers. And when someone says, I'm a lawyer or an architect, I say, I encourage this. It's planting the seeds. You never know where the seeds of children's play will lead. And I've got another friend who, when people say, and what is it that you do? She works in childcare. She's a childcare professional. What does she say? She says, I'm in investments. And yes, this is investments. This morning, I heard a lot of investments ideas, a lot of seed planting. I sat in on the meeting where some of the people were talking, some of you were talking about your projects. And I heard seed planting, but not only gardening. I heard seed planting for the future of this country and the future of these children. And when you plant seeds, you hope it will bear fruit. I wanted to share with you something that Fred Rogers did at the first keynote that he did in 1984 for NACCE, the National Early Childhood Conference. And here's what he said. It kind of surprised me by how he started it. He said, do you ever wonder if you've made a difference in this life? Whether any of the children who've come to your care have remembered anything you did for them? Any ways you cared for them? Well, I thought tonight what I'd do is answer that question with 3 stories. So here's the first story. Toddler who's not verbal yet, she's just babbling. Family is all waiting for the first word. What like you say, pulling them up. When does she pull herself up? What's going to be her first word? Mama, dada. What's the first word? They shifted her from one child care center to another. So she was with a new child care professional in the room. She's a toddler babbling. All of a sudden, when she comes home one day, all of a sudden she's got her first word. And wait till you hear what the first word was. E-I-E-I-O. Now, you know where that comes from. She doesn't come from a musical family. Her mother doesn't sing, her father doesn't sing. They're not singing, but you know who sings? You know who sings, right? And not only does this wonderful woman sing, I've sat in on circle time and I've watched her. She picks up that auto harp and her face lights up. Her whole body gets into this wonderful joy of singing. No wonder that little toddler picked up on that as something she wants to say, sing. There's a phrase for that Fred Rogers often referred to. It's a Quaker saying that attitudes are caught, not taught. Caught, not taught. And Fred used to tell the story about a father of one of the children in the child care who used to come and visit. And he would come on Fridays, and this father happened to be a sculptor. And the way Fred told the story is that this man didn't just make these adorable little things out of clay, and the kids would say, oh, make me one, make me one. That's not what he did. Here's how Fred said it. This father loved the clay. He just loved the clay. And the children that year made the most imaginative things from clay because they were in the presence of someone who loved the clay and loved doing it in front of them, near them, around them, with them. See, that's what it is. It's that caught, not taught. I think it works because it's a triangle. The triangle goes like this. I care about this, and I care about you. That's that wonderful relationship stuff. I care about you. Somehow, these two come together at the bottom of the triangle. They connect. They care about, I saw in your faces, I heard in your voices this morning when you talked about your projects. Those of you who are so passionate about the gardening thing or the greenhouse or the light box that you're going to offer to children or the sharing of clothing so that you can have this global sharing, how important. That's the kind of stuff. Attitudes are caught, not taught. And you know, the interesting thing is that so much of that happens non-verbally. It happens in your face, it happens in your body posture, it happens when you lean in, it happens in your arms. It's caught, not taught. Okay, here's the second story. So the first one is about caught, not taught. Here's the second story about making a difference. I heard something in your projects that reminded me of a story that Sue Bradekamp told at the National Early Childhood Conference. She did the opening session in Washington, D.C. a few years ago. Love this story. Wait till you hear this. It's about a kindergarten teacher, but she's standing and she's talking to 3 children, and she says to them, "Where does the sun go at night?" The first little girl says, "The sun goes down into the ocean at night, and in the morning it comes back up." Anybody been by the ocean? I mean, that is what it looks like. Okay. Next to her, the little boy says, "My daddy says the earth spins on its axis, and when it's day here, it's night somewhere else." And the teacher thinks, "Oh, this kid's got it." Next to him is a little girl who says, "I think at night the sun breaks up into stars." I know, everybody goes, "Ah." And in the morning, they all come back together again and make the sun. And the little boy says, "That makes more sense." Love it. What do we think? You know, you can't just feed them facts. You can't just give them words. That's why your projects are so wonderful. They're all hands-on. Touch it, feel it, explore it, climb on it, play with it. See what it can do for you. See what you can do with it. It's stuff. It's stuff that they need to explore with and hands-on. And you know, stuff costs money. And thank you, Tylenol, and thank you, the local foundation, for making the stuff available, because that's where learning happens, in the hands-on. That's what makes a difference. Now, I have another funny story about words. You know, we think words. I was with my grandchildren. They live in Chicago, and I was with them when their parents went out for the evening. Let's see, one was about 4.5 and the other is about 7. And the phone rings. And the 2 girls shout out in this frantic tone, "Don't answer it, don't answer it, don't answer it. It might be a telemarketer. Don't answer it, it might be a telemarketer." Now, they haven't been able to eliminate the telemarketers off their phone, right? So they get this, "Don't answer it, don't answer it. It might be a telemarketer." So the 4.5-year-old came over to me and she said to me, "I never asked anybody this question before, but I really want to know, what happens if you do answer it and it's a telemarketer?" She said, "Do the police come?" Words. Okay, since you're having fun laughing, I got to tell you the last one. I was at a banquet and they were giving a teacher an award. And she got up there and she said to the group, "The best thing about working in early childhood is that you always have a story to tell at a cocktail party." Here's her story. She asked the children to think of a safety rule. We're all talking about safety. One says you hold hands when you cross the street. The other one says you walk on the sidewalk. Okay. Little boy puts up his hand. He said, "Teacher, I know one. I know a safety rule. And she says, yes. And he says, you never should put your finger in the hole under the cat's tail. You love it. I couldn't resist. Keep your ears open. You've got the best place to hear how children think. You have the best ways to hear how amazing this world is to them and how fascinating they are. So it's not just words. It is not just words. It's stuff and hands-on learning. All right, I'm going to tell you the third one, the third story. Okay, we talked about attitudes are caught, not taught. Talked about it's not just words, it's hands-on learning. Here's the third story. A teacher was standing outside of her classroom. She had this boy, so this is a school system where they had a 4-year-old class and then a kindergarten, so it's a school, public school. And she's standing outside her class, and this little boy comes down the hall with his mother. So this is September. And this boy is coming down the hall with his mother, and the teacher recognizes him as the boy who had the most challenging behavior last year that she worked really hard with. And he's coming down the hall with his mother, and he recognizes his teacher from last year. And he looks up at her and he says, I still know how to be kind. See, the difference that you make can last a long, long time. And watch, because day by day it may, children regress, especially when they're about to take a step forward. Sometimes they go backwards. Don't judge it day by day. Keep working at it, keep working at it. And maybe you need a reunion, like 3 years later, where they come back, and wait till you hear the kinds of things that they remember from what you told them. So with those 3 stories in mind, I take you back to what Fred did at that keynote at the NACI conference when he said, do you ever wonder if you've made a difference in this life, whether any of the children who've come into your care have remembered anything you did for them, any ways you cared for them? And here's how Fred ended it. By the time a child grows up, that child's first teacher and second teacher and all the child's important adults will have been incorporated into that child's development. That's the way it is with children. And although they might not remember clearly, those of us who were the educators of their early lives will always be part of who they are, just like those who meant so much to us when we were children will always be part of who we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hedda. And I'm not an early childhood teacher, but I think I learned some good lessons there, especially about where to put your finger. I'd like now to introduce you to Marcy Bassine, child care specialist and advisor and chairwoman of the National Child Care Teacher Awards Committee. Marcy.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Hedda. I love when you come. You're always inspirational, and you always make us laugh. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name, as you've heard, is Marcy Bassine, and I am the Child Care Specialist of the Terry Lynn Lokoff Child Care Foundation. As a former early childhood education teacher and Child Care Center Director, I am honored to be on this podium and present the awards to this year's recipients. All of us present this evening understand the importance of a quality early childhood teacher in the lives of our children. For many children, we are the ones who first realize their true potential to shine in the academic, social, and motor areas. In some cases, we are the first ones to realize that a child is not developing as he should and realize the need for intervention so they can reach their full potential. The work we do is important and deserving of recognition from the parents, community, and politicians who we elect on the local, state, and federal levels. Since 1994, including this evening, we will have presented a total of, grab this one, 932 awards to outstanding child care teachers from all over the United States. Tonight, 49 of the 50 recipients are here to receive their awards. Each recipient will be awarded a $1,000 grant, $500 to implement the project created in the application, and $500 as an acknowledgement of their dedication to the profession. At our breakfast program this morning, each of our recipients received our signature rose stick pin from Bernie Robbins Fine Jewelers. This evening, they will each receive an award plaque called the Terry, all of these, that represents Terry's favorite yellow rose as interpreted by the late artist Sam Mayton. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready? All right, we start there. Ready? Okay. Amy Ahola from Marquette, Michigan. Dinah Arnott from Blacksburg, Virginia. Arnott. Elsa Bosma from Shelbourne, Vermont. Paul Kachernis from Vancouver, Washington. We did Paul. Junko Cizaldo from Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. I forgot to ask how to pronounce the Air Force Base. Josie Colazzo from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Adrian Sean Donaldson from North Miami, Florida. Melissa Duguay from Hamden, Connecticut. Christina Ford from Philadelphia, PA. Allison Fritsch from De Pere, Wisconsin. Erin Guzikowski from Philadelphia. Bridget Halcomb from Riverview, Michigan. Laura Haley from Pittsburgh, PA. If you're coming, come on now. Kimberly Hargrove from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Ann Harmon from LaSalle, Illinois. Heather Houseladen from Plymouth, Minnesota. Mary Ellen Hussey from Malden, Massachusetts. Lisa Jarazowitz from Maplewood, Minnesota. Lillian Kazanis from North Falmouth, Massachusetts. Joni Kahn from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Lenai Kep from Edina, Minnesota. Dana Kraus from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Stephanie Kraus from Bend, Oregon. Here we go. Elzabieta Sheshketowitz. You know who you are. Tina Levesque from Avon, Connecticut. Sorry, I screwed it up. Jennifer Masella from Wexford, Pennsylvania. Helen McRae from Misawa, Japan. Nicole McLaughlin from Madison, New Jersey. Jennifer Miller from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Amy Mincy from Cumming, Georgia. Okay. Here we go. Siobhan Minish from Athens, Georgia. Victoria Murray from Pittsburgh, PA. Elizabeth Peralta from Aviano, Italy. Jennifer Picas from Princeton, New Jersey. Jamie Rice from Pittsburgh, PA. Melissa Robinson from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Michelle Raisler from Fargo, North Dakota. Lisa Rubinow from Columbus, Ohio. Okay, we're getting a little backed up here. Carrie Ann Russell from Hilo, Hawaii. Nicole Savage from Clairton, Pennsylvania. Ashley Schill from Iowa City, Iowa. Jill Skinner from Great Falls, Montana. Pat Smith from Oswego, New York is unable to be with us this evening, but we hope you're streaming live on the internet, Pat, and you're with us in spirit. Michelle Diane Southall from Grand Forks Air Force Base, North Dakota. Heidi Sowers, Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota. Ilsa Wilson, oh no, I'm sorry, Glenda Torres, New York City, New York. Sorry, Glenda. Now, Ilsa Wilson, Sandy, Utah. Angela Wooten, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Noelle Woodgo, Philadelphia, PA. And our last recipient, Stacy Zielinski from Berlin, Connecticut. Congratulations to everyone for a job well deserved.
Okay, one last round of applause for everybody. Well deserved, everyone. Terry was a child care teacher. She knew the importance of early care and education. She knew that children begin learning right from birth. She knew that the early years are critical in the development of a child. Terry was ahead of her time. The rest of society is catching up. Kay and Fred Lokoff wanted to honor Terry's memory and find a way to keep her spirit and passion alive. Together with their sons, in 1987, they founded the Terry Lynn Lokoff Child Care Foundation. What began as a friends and family organization working on projects in and around Philadelphia to improve the quality of child care for all children has grown into a nationally recognized and respected organization that advocates for young children and their teachers. Kay and Fred are turning the reins over to their sons to carry on Terry's legacy and to share their dream of providing high-quality early care and education. Their son, Jamie, who is Terry's youngest brother, is executive director of the foundation. He's continuing the mission to honor Terry, her work, and you, her professional colleagues. It's my distinct honor to introduce Jamie Lokoff.
Thank you. So I'm up here, but I'm really not supposed to be up here. But here I am. My mother, Kay Lokoff, who is sitting there at the end, right there, who is the founder, who who did everything that she could to get here tonight, and she pushed herself because she didn't want to miss it. She wanted to be here with you, and she wanted to be up on the stage. She wanted to see your faces, and so let's give a hand to Kay for. So, yeah, she would have been up here, but as I said earlier, you're stuck with me, right? It all begins right here and now. This love of learning and what you do today will have bearing on the lives of your children forever. It's been almost 30 years since Terry died in an automobile accident 25 years ago. We have learned to survive the unthinkable. We've learned to survive for others, and then slowly learn to survive for ourselves. We have found that only through the good we do for others in Terry's name, with the beauty of spirit, mind, and body, there was my sister, live forever. Terry knew what was important. It was family and friends and the children she worked with every day. Terry went to work as a teacher of children from 3 months to 18 months old. As a child care teacher, she loved and nurtured her babies and instilled her goodness in them. She did this work with passion, good nature, and a great sense of humor, and mostly with love. Like so many others, she did everyday routines, and in the doing, she created something incredible. Terry was a gifted teacher, very much like you all. The foundation was created to benefit young children and to bring Terry with us into the 21st century. And what we discovered was that Terry was way ahead of us, which we've been hearing all night. She had already known that quality childcare was the important issue of the future. As childcare teachers, you work in a field of endeavor that uses up teachers and their energies. You get to work with families together, forming a bond that will help our children grow into caring and responsible adults. You bring peace of mind to working parents, love and nurturing to the children in your care. All of you bring your special gifts to a job that tries your patience. You are unique, and never let anyone tell you otherwise. For you, instill learning, creative excitement, enthusiasm, and joy in the wonder of new worlds. You have one of the most meaningful and most rewarding professions in the world. I read many of your applications and was tremendously impressed by the quality of your entries. Many of you have come a long way to be here, and we are grateful for your commitment to your work and your eagerness to be part of the larger community that hopefully can educate others to the importance of quality childcare. You get to shape the future of this country. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." You are here tonight because of your dreams and to give your children the tools they need to create their own. I know Terry would be proud of you and proud of what has come to pass in her name, and I am proud to be a part of a program that rewards your kind of work and exceptional talents. You bring respect to the field of teaching. You are dedicated professionals who, in doing the best job possible, help secure the future for all of us. Terry's legacy lives on in all of you. We, her family and friends, miss her every day. Unfortunately, We cannot go back and change the past, but with quality teachers, we can change the future. We are honored to have you here, and it is with great pride and pleasure we congratulate the class of 2017. Good luck in all you do, and God bless you. So the foundation was created to benefit young children and to bring Terry with us into the 21st century. What we discovered was that Terry was way ahead of us. She had already known that quality childcare was the important issue of the future. As childcare teachers, you work in a field of endeavor that uses up teachers and energies, and that's the wrong part of the speech. How many of you knew that I was reading the wrong part of the speech? Come on, be honest. I saw a couple of hands over there. I try. Anyway, I want to invite Richard Marks up onto the stage, and Aaron Slavka, if you could both stand here for the minute. The next award given is the highest award a child care teacher can receive from the Terry Lynn Lokoff Child Care Foundation. It is the Helene Marks Award. That is Richard Marks, Helene's husband. Helene Marks was a special person who was instrumental in growing the Terry Lynn Lokoff Child Care Foundation into the national organization it is today. The recipient of the Helene Marks Award is named the National Child Care Teacher of the Year and receives an additional $1,000. The winner is selected among our finalists whose application scored in the top 10. Our top 10 finalists wrote an additional essay about the child care profession. Before I invite the top 10 recipients to the stage, I'm introducing Aaron Slavka from Children's Tylenol and Richard Marks. All right, so now I'm going to call, well, we know who the 10 finalists are, right? So when I announce your name, please come up to the stage, and I'll have all of you stand in a line right there. I'm making this up as it goes, and I'm sure you. Dinah Arnott from Child Development Center for Learning, Blacksburg, Virginia. Paul Kachanese from Clark Community College, Vancouver. Allison Fritsch, Encompass Early Education and Care. Joni Kahn from Boys and Girls Club of the Sioux Empire, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Shaban Minish, Child Development Lab at the McFall Center. Ashley Schill from Apple Tree Children's Center. Patricia Smith, who couldn't be here with us tonight. Michelle Southall, Grand Folks Child Care Development Center. Ilsa Wilson from Fairyland Family Child Care. And Stacy Zelensky from Educational Play Care. And the 2017 National Child Care Teacher of the Year is, sorry, I have an envelope. It's been sealed. Hopefully, this will not be like the Oscars and we get the wrong. And the 2017 National Child Care Teacher of the Year is Shaban Minish of Child Development Lab at the McFall Center in Athens, Georgia. Okay, you got it. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, now I want to ask you to follow us on Facebook, where you'll see photos from this year's Teacher Award ceremony, and sign up for our newsletter on our homepage, www.tllccf.org. And please plan on joining us next April to welcome the Terry Lynn Lokoff Children's Tylenol National Child Care Teacher Awards Class of 2018. Applications should be available on the website in the fall. I'd like to ask all of our recipients to stay in this room for a group photo with their plaques. But otherwise, this concludes the 2017 edition of the Terry Lynn Lokoff Children's Tylenol National Child Care Teacher Awards. Let's get this party started. Trolleys to take everyone to the after party at Milk Boy are street level in the back of the hotel. Thank you so much for being here, and congratulations to all our winners.